Well, welcome back to the Pew, everybody. I am your host, John Edwards, and I'm excited this week to bring you another special guest. And this guest has broken the record for miles traveled coming to the studio. In the past, we've had guys from here in the United States or ladies from here in the United States, but this week I have a friend of mine all the way from Nazareth. He was our guide in the Holy Land last year. He's much more than a guide. He's a very good friend in my life. He was a blessing to my life then, and he continues to be now. He is the best guide in the Holy Land. If you don't believe me, then stop watching the show, because you should believe what I say because you're watching it. But he's one of my close friends. He's here this week in Memphis visiting with us, sharing about the Holy Land, where he's from, and what's why people should go to the Holy Land, why it's important in their lives, and all of that, why we should go and walk in the footsteps of Jesus. So he gave a talk today, and he's been traveling all over the United States. I think he's been to New Jersey and Austin. He's going to go to Florida, Louisiana, and all over the place. So hopefully he'll come near you, and you'll get a chance to meet him yourself. But without further ado, I am glad to welcome my friend and guide for Select International Travel, Hani.
Yeah, it's really good to be here in Memphis. I love the place. I love having you finally to meet after 6 months after our last tour.
Yeah.
I'm very excited, actually. It's really good place to start the year, especially with the big mass of Sikh. I was at Sikh in St. Louis, and then I'm traveling, and we are sharing Christ with a lot of people.
Yeah.
And now we are here together to talk about Christ.
That's right. Yeah, it's going to be exciting. I had him tricked. I told him I was going to put him at the Motel 6, and instead he stayed at our house. So that was a lot of fun, man. But you were just at Sikh. What's that like? Like, so you're from Nazareth, not the biggest place in the world, in the Holy Land, which is the size of New Jersey, as you said earlier. Not the Holy Land, but Israel and altogether. What's it like to go to an event full of Catholics that 24,000 people? What was that like for you?
They were all youth. Mainly they are youth. Like, it was so inspiring. I love the idea about how effort they put for Christ.
Yeah.
Like, all this happened just for Christ. This is how we love the Lord. I was thinking a lot of things. One of the things is my first mass in this year was with Sikh. It was 20,000 people.
Yeah.
It's my biggest mass I ever attended.
Yeah.
It was so inspiring. I would love to see all the Christians in the Holy Land doing that.
Yeah.
I would love also to see just the youth. The youth they are inspiring. They are coming back to the Lord. And especially in these challenging times, we have to have a lot of passion to drive them back to Jesus, to God. There are so many challenges, so many things that will drive them away, but we need to keep that spirit living on. And the speech that was made, all of the people who talked, like Father Mike Schmitz, Edward Sri, and more people that were there. I was thinking, Father Mike Schmitz is very, very, very famous.
Yeah.
And everybody loves him. Every time he was like walking, he would be having these guys to stop people,
security guards,
from like coming all over him. So he would walk the hallway, and then somebody would notice and say like, Father Mike Schmitz is here. Then like these 300 people would be going after him. But I was thinking differently. I was thinking, how was it with Christ?
Yeah.
Like okay, we are listening to Father Mike Schmitz speaking to these speeches, and it's really, really nice, giving us and teaching us. But then how powerful was it to listen to Jesus in real life when he was here? Like, no wonder like people were following him. When we talk about, for example, feeding the crowds, 5,000 men, but there would be more, like 10,000, 15,000.
With women and children.
And are all following him. It must be like he would be the teacher, and he is the teacher, and everybody wants to follow him too. So I just try to a little bit imagine what will it be compared to what we have in our life, but how it was 2,000 years ago with Jesus standing in front of you. How will you react? That was like the biggest question I had in my mind.
Yeah.
With all of the emotions, the faith, everything that involves his teachings, and you just don't want to lose any split a second looking at Jesus, and like you want it all. And yeah, that would be great. Like I was thinking about it.
Yeah. It's funny you say that, because when I went the year before last and he was there, they were having to run him through there on a golf cart, and people were running after him. And I kept thinking, I thought the exact same thing. I said, this must be what Jesus, like the closest thing to what Jesus must have felt like, with people just pressing in. And that's what's so funny when he says, like, who touched me, right? Like, how do you know? Like, everybody's touching you, you know? It's just funny about that. But yeah, it's, you know, Father Mike's done a lot for the church, and he'll continue to do a lot for the church. He's a gift, and it takes a great amount of humility. I mean, as it must have for Christ too, to, you know, to have that many people following and everything. But you were there with Select Travel, right? That's you know, the travel agency we both go with, and so they had a booth. Matt and everybody was there.
Oh yeah, we were standing 8 till 11 about every day.
Yeah, just telling people about pilgrimage,
about what it is to become a pilgrim.
Yeah.
What does it mean? Why should you come to the Holy Land in the first place? So I remember there was that guy, I think he just finished high school. And he was, why should I come with you guys? Like, give me a reason.
Yeah.
So, well, the first thing popped in my mind, I say, like, would you like to walk on water? And he was, are you kidding me? I said, like, no, actually, honestly, I'm asking you, would you like to walk on water? He said, like, how come? I said, do you know somebody that walked on water? He said, Jesus, Sea of Galilee. Okay, somebody else? Then he said, Peter. I said, where he was before he started walking on water. I saw it inside the boat. And, of course, there's the 11 that stayed in that boat, but Peter was the only one who stepped out of this comfort zone of his. Because the boat is safe, you know, when you are in water.
Yeah.
So he stepped out and he looked at Jesus, started following Jesus. He was focusing at Jesus. And Jesus didn't say, go back. He didn't say, it's dangerous for you. He actually encouraged him, like, yes, come to me.
Yeah.
And then we know that the wind blowed, he lost focus. We don't want to lose that focus. But if we did, Jesus was there. He grabbed him. So that boat, I told him, for you, it's the United States. And Jesus is in the Holy Land. And you have to leave that boat to get to Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, wow. Yeah, I was just, this is, it just came to me, you know, as I was talking.
Holy
So
Spirit.
It stuck in my mind as, I think it's really good to start with the youth. So he said, like, I don't have money now. I said, it's not a problem. Money is not a problem. You can save today. And then after like 12 months, 1 year, 2 years, you will eventually have the money. Just put a little bit. Mm-hmm. But you have to come during your lifetime. You have to see the fifth gospel to see where Jesus performed miracles, where he lived, what he saw. It's completely different than just reading scriptures and being. It's more bringing your faith in 3D mode. Like you'll be there, you'll be standing there, and you'll be looking at the place, standing at stones that are from the Roman time. 2,000 years ago, Jesus might have been stepping there. A lot of things that would involve Jesus Christ and his ministry here on earth.
Yeah. Well, it is. And I mean, I remember when we were there and we first went to Galilee and we were staying at Magdala right there on the Sea of Galilee. And, you know, in Scripture, when Jesus, he gave the bread of life discourse, and then, you know, it says he went across the sea and they ran around the sea. Well, in Scripture, I always think, like, how do you run around a sea? Like, how do you run around an ocean, you know? And But over there, a sea is a lake, right? So you don't, I mean, I probably sound like an idiot now thinking that, but when you get over there, you look, you're like, oh, I get it. Like, it's 15 miles. Somebody basically ran 15 miles to the other side and met him over there.
Yep.
But it's little things like that. That sounds like trivial, but until you're there, you don't know. You're just reading something and, okay, I don't know how they did that, but I'll move on. But now you look and you can see it, you feel it, you touch it. I remember Angela one day, she put her bathing suit on. I was like, where are you going? And she goes, I'm going to swim in the Sea of Galilee. And I thought, really? And she goes, yeah. She went out there and swam, and you know, you just look at it and go, this is where Jesus lived. He breathed. He walked. Most of his ministry was done right there.
Yes, 2/3.
Yeah, and And it's incredible. I mean, so, and the thing I loved about you is, I've heard people that go and they say the guides are very university types and very, okay, now no talking. And this is the way it goes. But with you, you encourage the relationships. You encourage people to talk to one another about their experiences. And when you spoke about all these places, I could tell like this matters to him. Because, in any job, you do the same thing over and over again, right? No matter what it is, and you can get used to something and you can lose the fire, the passion you have for it. It can become just something you do. I check the box from 8 to 5. But I never felt that with you. Like when we were on the trip, I kept thinking like, this feels like this is the first time he's ever done this. Not knowledge-wise, like not he doesn't know what he's talking about, not that, because you obviously did. But like the joy and the passion, like he wants to be here and he loves this. And so like that's a place to start, I think, is how did you know, like was there a day you woke up and you just said like, I want to be a tour guide? Or like how did all that start?
Oh, it's a long story.
We have time.
So no, it's actually like the purpose of your life.
Yeah.
Not when you are going through it, but after getting to a certain point, and then you look back. Then you start like connecting events that happened with you personally, and then like only you know about it. So one of the things that I think it started there, as I was in my, like as a kid, we were racing. Me and my sister, we were coming back from the Rosary prayer. It was during May, and I fell down. I stumbled. It was construction waste. I fell on a metal and I had a cut in my leg. It was very deep. I was in my neighborhood. Nobody was helping. They were looking and they will just continue their way. Yeah, it's just a boy crying maybe. Nobody helped. Nobody cared about asking. But then an old man showed up. White hair, blue eyes. He spoke English. I didn't speak English back then. I was just telling him. He came and like wrapped my leg and showing him by signs where he should go. So we went to my grandfather's house and from there to the hospital, and I have like 11 stitches. I never seen him again. Growing up at school, my classmate was talking about his uncle in such a passionate way, like, yeah, he works with people, pilgrims from all over the world. And like, what does he work? He said, he's a tour guide. I said, okay, yeah, maybe I want to be a tour guide. Because this love for pilgrims, the first pilgrim I met in my life, he was the one who helped me. So it left a seed inside of my heart, like, yeah, I want to say thank you. But I couldn't. I never seen him again. I remember his face like it was yesterday. I always pray for him. I think he already passed away because he was very old. But at that point, yeah, I wanted to be a tour guide. So it came from passion. And I love sharing Christ. I grew up an altar boy. I still do it in my church. Like every Sunday, when there is no work, I'll go there, I'll help. We have also our Sunday school, so I help with that, guide them spiritually and guide them in the Holy Land. So I love everything about sharing Christ. It's my passion. If you can say a hobby is just for me to connect the Old Testament with the New Testament, I'll be really happy when I find these new connections and understand more. Because I think, people would have questions and they will have some doubts. I think if you have question, you go dig more. You go and you will see the connections, and in the connections, Old and New Testament, you'll get your answer, and then you'll say, yeah, actually, our faith is really based on logic. Like it's real. Yeah.
That's incredible. I mean, I was expecting you to say like, oh, I had an uncle or a father that did it and I got in the family business. You had this amazing story that you just told us.
Yeah, I'm
That's
the
awesome.
first in my family, actually.
Yeah. And you're so good at it. I mean, the joy like I said, it comes out of you as you're talking about these things, which that's what allows you to know that somebody's passionate about what they do when they can do the same thing again and again and again, but it's always like the first time. You're from Nazareth. What's that like? Like being from the town of Jesus, where Jesus lived most of his hidden life. Like what's that like for you?
Yeah, I guess I'm very blessed, very lucky,
Yeah.
because not everyone can be called Nazarene, I guess.
Yeah.
I love that part.
Yeah,
Hani, the
but
Nazarene.
so two
Um,
things good came from Nazareth, right? You and Jesus.
yeah, I guess. And there are more Nazarenes.
Sure, yeah.
So they are all good. Um, yeah, well, in my childhood, it's good to know, like, as every child, like, if we don't know about history and archaeology, you will never make this connection. I only literally understood that I'm in Nazareth when I grew up. I said, like, wow, we are really so lucky to be here and to see what Jesus saw. And one of my favorite places is the Sea of Galilee,
Mm-hmm.
because there you can see the lake and you see the Golan Heights and the Galilee Mountains, that they don't have a lot of buildings covering it. So it still seems a land very accurate, let's say, to what Jesus saw when he was standing there.
Yeah.
So just looking there, looking at the view, it will connect. Like, I stand there and I say, yeah, Jesus probably saw what I'm seeing now. It's such a bliss.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wish everybody can see it.
Yeah. Yeah. What are your favorite places to go to in the Holy Land? Like, what do you like as a guide? What is your places that you're like, oh, today's the day we're going here?
Yeah, so I get excited pretty much everywhere. But
that's true. I've seen it. Yeah.
But my main, like, the place for me would be the Garden of Gethsemane.
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah, it's very personal for me.
Yeah.
As you know, like, we start at the top of Mount of Olives, and then we start walking down the Palm Sunday. And at the very top, there's the Church of Pater Noster, our Father in Heaven. And I explain about our Father in Heaven. And, like, also when we were together, Father Larry explained about his book also about that. But there is something, I grew up, my father would be telling me, why do you worry? Like, I remember during school, I have an exam, I have something challenging going in my life. And I grew up hearing my father telling me, you should not worry. I say, like, what? He said, do you pray our Father? I say, yes, I pray our Father. Do you concentrate in the words? So he started, like, say it. And then I got to the part where, may your will be done. So he said, stop. What did you just say? Whose will? So I said, God's will. And he said, then if God's will, and you truly believe in it, that means you gave your life to God. Do you think it's gonna be good? I say, like, of course he's God. He said, then why do you worry? If you give him his life, why are you worrying? Then it became my thing in life. Like, it became my source of power. But more to that, like, in everyday life we have our own challenges. And I was really challenged in that, may your will be done. Because one of the stories, actually, it really affected me and affected my whole way of thinking about the God of Gethsemane, was when my uncle was sick. Mm-hmm. I have a lot of groups, almost back to back. I have these few days where I can go back home. When I went that day home, I heard about my uncle being sick, in, like, cancer, and it's very late now. He's they said he have like a month maybe to live. I saw his family, I saw his daughters, and they were very sad, of course, and I was sad. I was like, he was good, like, why this is happening? So I prayed to God. I prayed a lot. And I told him, I don't see your signs. I told him, sometimes I'm stupid. You give me a sign, I will not look at it. So I want you to give me a big sign that I will not just look at it and continue. And then I started the other group, and I saw when we got to the Sea of Galilee, I wanted to go to my room. I looked left, and then I see double rainbow in the Sea of Galilee. So beautiful. Never seen it in my life, and I didn't see it yet again. Mm-hmm. So I thought, this is this is the sign that God is showing me. That means my prayer was answered and my uncle would be okay. So I was happy, just, warm heart, happiness filling you. I continued my group. I finished 9 days, go back home. And then my uncle died. Like, I was so confused. Why did you do this? Why did you give me this message, this sign? It should be a good sign. It's a rainbow, the Ark of Noah, peace. But yet he died. So what was the point? Like, weren't you listening to my prayers or what? I have these questions that were doubts, even we can say doubts. I started again, I was there during the funeral, a day after, and then I had to have another group. It was high season for us. And during that group, I still have these questions in my mind until I got to the Garden of Gethsemane. And then I start explaining about Christ's prayer, about the peak of the incarnation of Jesus. And then, it's the struggle of Jesus of having to wear our sins, which is a very dirty dress he have to wear.
Yeah.
And it's like you have the picture of your father on his shirt, but then I come and disturb it a lot, making it very ugly, and I tell you, now you go and meet your father. Will you do it? Because the sin is going against God's will, and Jesus, which is one with God, he have to wear our sins, that is denying God and his will, and he have to stand in front of the Father when he is one with the Father. Like, it's so much pressure, and he got to the deep, great depression that he felt, and his sweat became like blood. And then he had his own prayer. Can you please pass this cup? He's saying basically, like, I cannot take it any longer. Like, I want you to just pass this cup. I cannot do it. But Jesus then ended his prayer with the sentence that really hit me. It's your will, not mine. And then we know God's will was for Jesus to take the cross and die for us. But then what happened is, the first challenge would be when the servants would come of Caiaphas, and then one of the disciples would cut the ear of the servant, and Jesus corrected it. Because that going with force, trying to defend Christ, it's saying that Jesus is not going according to the Father's will. So Jesus said, no, this is against God's will. He corrected it. At that same instant, he healed the ear. And then he was very powerful standing. And I was thinking, like, okay, here God did not do what Jesus prayed for. I start thinking, and I had tears in my eyes. And I was telling them, I'm not better than Jesus. Why should I be arrogant and say, like, you do not exist, you're not listening to me, or you can go as far as you stop believing in God because you prayed and he did not answer. But it's not about that prayer. It's about the will of God, like doing the will of God. So maybe start thinking, actually it wasn't that he's not answering. It's more that I didn't end my prayer properly. I should give everything I want to say, and should say it and tell him about my sorrows, my anger, but then I should end it. It's your will. Then there would be wisdom. Instead of having questions of doubts, then you start thinking, yes, God heard my prayer, but for some reason, he chose the other option. Why? And you start saying why, and not if or having doubt questions. You start thinking about the message that he's trying to give you. And it's a big wisdom, actually. And standing in the garden and thinking about Jesus there, I said, like, yeah, we are not better than Jesus. And here God told us that this is my son, but I have my will. So be strong. So it's my backbone in life.
Yeah.
The Garden of Gethsemane.
Yeah, that's a powerful story, and you're right. Like, I've never thought about it like the way you said that he took the ear. Obviously, that was Peter, and it's almost, as the way you explain that, it's almost like Jesus again saying, "Get behind me," like, because he does that right there at in Caesarea Philippi when he says, "You are the rock," and all these things.
Yeah.
He says, "Oh, you don't have to die," and get behind me, Peter. It's funny that or get behind me, Satan, is basically what he said. But yeah, it's a great point, and at Gethsemane too, like. I remember standing outside, because when you're there, you're in the Church of All Nations. So that's over where Jesus would have been on the rock. The rock's right there below the altar. But I enjoyed being outside where some of the olive trees and things still are, and just sort of looking out at the city, the old city, and seeing like what Jesus would have seen as he was there praying. I like to read John 17 when I give talks. So I'm talking about a relationship with Jesus, because it's this priestly prayer.
Yeah.
And many people have not ever read that all the way through, because so many people read the scriptures in the Magnificat. So if I read it Tuesday, I get this much. But if I don't read it Wednesday, then I miss some. And so you don't always get the whole prayer. And in that prayer, Jesus is praying for the apostles. He's praying for us. He says, the ones that will come to know me through them. And it's super powerful, because so many times we think like God doesn't understand me. God doesn't get me. God doesn't understand what I'm going through. And it's like, I don't think that we understand what he went through. Right. And so sitting there as you're looking out over the old city, and you could see where Caiaphas' house was,
Yes.
and where everywhere he was going to be taken that night. And that Jesus was looking at that as he was praying those things. And you can also see why he would be fearful, as he saw people coming out of the city with torches and coming for him, like knowing that. And that's what's so beautiful about the Holy Land. Like, it's what you're talking about. If you haven't been there, like, you kind of go, man, this is sad, and I don't like to read this because it makes me sad. But when you're actually standing there, the gravity of what he went through becomes so much more human too. Because you sit there and you look out and you go, man, if I knew all these people were coming, my inclination would be to run.
Yeah, because
Right,
you will see them. You'll see the Kidron Valley.
Yeah,
You'll see them when they are about a mile away.
coming for you. Yeah, with swords and torches, and all, because they came at night. And the human part of me would be like, I want to run. I'm going to go the other way. But he sat there in that agony and all those things. And you don't really get that until you're standing there in the place looking out, and it starts to click. And I mean, I love what you said earlier about the young man. Like, yeah, you may not have money now, but do what it takes. Like, do what it takes. Because I know as a young man in the United States, I wasn't thinking like, I'm going to save my money and go to the Holy Land. I'm like, I'm going to buy beer, or I'm going to get what, but that's the mindset we should have, is that there's this tremendous place in the other part of the world where everything that mattered happened. And to really fully come into that knowledge, and for it to transform your life, you have to go and you visit. And I'm not trying to do an infomercial and everybody sign up for the trip after this. I'm not doing that. But what I am saying is, there's just something that comes alive in you there that never will just here in the way that, in the capacity it has to do there.
Yeah, I see it in a lot of pilgrims' experiences. Everybody will experience in different sides things that would matter to them. Like, I don't know all of the individual stories, but I can see their faces. I can see their tears. And some would get emotional. Like, there was another story in Jacob's Well, when Jesus met the Samaritan woman, and she came at noon because she was ashamed to go in the morning, because usually they go in the morning to bring the water to their houses.
And all the other women would have been there.
Yeah. And then she was hiding the shame. She was sinful. She knew Jesus. She became a believer. And then she started to be preacher that same day. Like, Jesus can change your life in an instant so easily. But then the thing that really hit me, I was explaining, and then there was that young lady, and she started to cry a lot. Because I was explaining about the Samaritan woman, is about her wounds would become her testimony. As we know that she was sinful, but when she went and preached, she told all her sins to the people, that this man that I met on the well, he knew it all.
Yeah.
Like, she used to hide this because she was ashamed. She was coming at noon because she was afraid that they might know her sins or shameful things that she have done. So, but then when she was preaching, she was literally, you see these scars on my body. Yeah, I got this from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but I was healed, and this man healed me. And now I look at those scars not as symbols of shame, but as power. Yeah, it's right. I was there in that bad place, but today I'm here, and I was saved. And I can tell you very powerfully that I was there because I made it here.
Yeah.
So she was just crying, and then she talked to me and told me her story, and that was the most powerful moment for her. And there are a lot of these experiences that I can see every time in the Holy Land.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that make me feel some sense of achievement, that I fulfilled my purpose, and I'll be happy.
Yeah.
Because like I did what God wanted me to do. I connected the pilgrims with the place. So I felt that, I fulfilled my purpose here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's another thing that I really enjoy about you is like you get that it's about Jesus, because like you literally are doing what all of us are supposed to be doing, like for your way of life. Like you're bringing people to Jesus. You're introducing people to Jesus. A lot of times, like in the world I'm in with, Catholic speaking and all that stuff, it can very easily become, if you're not careful, about you. It can be, I'm great. I'm doing all these talks. These people appreciate me. And, and there's a danger in that. I'm sure there can be that way for a guide too. But you actually are being called to introduce people through these subtle ways and these things where they really come to know Jesus. And as you talk about that woman, I mean, that resonates in my own story. I get up and I share all the time about, I did it with you in the house the other night. Yes. You had no idea all that stuff went on in my life. And it's like, well, people will say, well, how can you share that, And it's like, because I'm not that person anymore. I met someone who changed that. And so, yes, I'm not proud of those things, but that's not who I am anymore, and it gives me the freedom to share it. As you were talking, I was thinking about what the woman says. She goes, I met a man who told me everything about me, about my life, and he didn't run from me. And that's what you're doing in the Holy Land, is just introducing people again and again. And I almost felt like when we were over there, going through the whole trip, like it was almost like, okay, see where Jesus loves you here? See how much Jesus loves you here? And it just becomes more and more apparent as he's walking towards Jerusalem. Because the way you did the tour, sometimes I've heard tours start like in Jerusalem and go backwards, or they do. But you did it basically in the way that Jesus lived. Where we started was there in Nazareth, and then worked our way, or in Galilee. But we worked our way around different places. But I don't know, I just felt like everywhere we were going, we were following in this place of coming to know Jesus deeper in each place. And it's really a gift. And it's kudos to Select for setting that up with you the way that they do, and the wonderful company they are too. I guess that's another question I want to ask you. So obviously you're a good guide. I'm sure that you're in demand over there. I mean, I'm not trying to make your head get huge, but like, you're a good guide. I'm sure there's other companies over there that are looking for like, hey, could we get Hani to come over here? Or why did you choose Select? Like, what was it about them that you really just said, okay, I want to work with them? Because I know there's freelance guides that like work a little bit for everybody.
Yeah, we can do it to work with a lot of companies if you want to. The thing about Select is that I love their ideals. I love how they build the tours, but mainly about being Christian in it. Like, you can do it as a business, you can do it as a ministry. Mm-hmm. So ministry is far better than just a business.
Yeah.
Like all would like to have money, but when the money become the main thing, I don't like it.
Yeah.
It's ministry first, God first, and God will provide. This is how I believe. This is how Select would also is believing, and more to things is there is something about money that it's enchanting. Mm-hmm. Like, people can really get lost with money, especially if it's a business that will have a lot of money. then you should learn to heal it. And I think healing it is just to show yourself that this money was granted for a reason. God granted this money for you for a reason, and you have to help with it. It's not only for you, it's also for the others. So God blessed you with this, but also you have to bless others with it. So once you do it, you show yourself that money, yes, money can come and go, but I brought smiles on people's faces. I eased their lives in so many fields of life. And this is what Select does through the charity of Select to Give.
Mm-hmm.
And I truly love that about them.
So just to clarify that a little bit, Select International is the tour agency,
Yes.
but they're the only one that has a 501c3 nonprofit that takes money from everything they earn,
Yes.
trips to Greece or Italy or wherever. They take money from all those trips, a little portion, and they fill it. They funnel it into the nonprofit to be able to help Christians in the Holy Land.
Yes, correct. And
Yeah.
also, like, you can make donation on the site
Mm-hmm.
if you are not able to go on a pilgrimage, but still you want to help the Christians there. So you can go to the site selecttogive.org and you can make a donation there.
Yeah, and they help with children's education and health
Yeah.
and all those kind of things too.
Yeah, educational adoption, people with Down syndrome, helping, like there is also charity in Bethlehem to make women know how to use their skills. For example, if they were tailors, they can start helping the family by finding them work and finding them jobs so that they will work, they have
Yeah.
more income, and so like it's a lot of things that can be done with a little from each one.
Mm-hmm.
Like for me, like maybe if I give $5, I will not feel that I gave a lot, but 5 and 5 and 5 and 5 and 5,
It adds up.
it will
yeah.
really help. Yeah.
Yeah, it adds up. Yeah, it's. I loved going to the dinner with the people in Bethlehem
Sharing
there,
the
the
bread.
sharing the bread
Yes.
and enjoying that. It's kind of a weird thing to get in a car with people you don't know in another country and just go somewhere, but like you get over that initial like stupid fear we have because we live in the United States and all that stuff, But like getting over there and getting in the car and going and spending time with people that live in a very different situation than you do over here, that struggle to live and struggle to find a way to make a living and yet still are so faithful and really just that was a beautiful thing. Like I don't think the trip would have been the same if we hadn't been able to do that, like to go and spend time with people from there and go into their homes and see where they lived and eat with them and enjoy their food and hear their family stories. It was just really, it's one of my favorite parts of the trip. And I know that not everybody does that, but I know Select does, and it's something that we enjoyed, and I'm looking forward to doing the next time we go there. Angela and I still, on Facebook, we're connected with the family that we had dinner with over there, and it's some of the memories that I hold the most dear in the trip to the Holy Land, a few months back, was just that time we got to spend with them and just hear what life is really like over there. We could talk about that some. Everybody in the world knows that there's war going on and everything over there, and I don't want to get into politics and all that stuff on here. That's not what this is about, right? This is about just talking about the beauty of the Holy Land, the need of why people need to go there. But the fact is, regardless war or not, there's always struggle for Christians over there, whether there's a war going on or not. They're a small population in the Holy Land, period. That's another reason we need to help, like you said, whether or not it's going on a trip or it's just giving some money here and there. Christians need to be in the Holy Land, right? And if we don't find ways to help, then it may not be that way. You were talking earlier about some of your friends moving other places because it's easier to find a way of life some other places. And so that's one reason I just want to ask people on here, if you're looking for something to give to this year that's really impactful, you can give to Select to Give, because that'll help keep Christians there educated, employed, taken care of. And Christians can remain to be part of the holiest place on earth. And I know that's something that's near and dear to your heart too.
Yeah, I think Christians, there are the living stones. Like a lot would come and just visit the places, but the Christians who are still there, they are the living stones. And like I live there, I know what it is, how it is like. But I'm in Nazareth. I'm in the north, and they are
Mhm.
living in Bethlehem, and there is just less opportunities of work in Bethlehem, and people sometimes, like you said, like you are connecting with the family that you were in their houses. Like there is a friendship, new friendship that was formed with a Bethlehemite, which is very neat to have a Bethlehemite friend. But sending them a message that will help them, like, okay, yeah, they care for me. So it will just give them power to stay, because we are a bit stubborn there. We don't want to leave the Holy Land with no Christians in it.
Yeah.
We have very powerful backbone that is Jesus Christ. So we have this, we can say, pride or even dignity that, yeah, I don't like to see the Holy Land with no Christians in it.
Yeah.
So this is what really keeps us there.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, hopefully it all opens up again soon. Hopefully this war and everything comes to an end so that we can start coming back over there, people from all over. And I know that helps the economy. It keeps people within work there. Because that's the thing, like, it's not just tour guides. People work in hotels, Christian hotels in Bethlehem and things like that to support themselves. So anytime we go over there, you're not just, that's the way you need to look at it, is like, okay, I'm not just checking off a bucket list to go over there and say I went to the Holy Land. Like when I go over there, I spend money. When I spend time there, when I buy things, it all goes to help, in that situation over there. And so I'm excited to go again. We're going to go in May of next year. You and I and Father Larry again. You're brave to go with him.
Awesome.
You're brave to go with him again. He gave you a hard time last year, but I'm excited. I connected with him a few months ago and said, "Hey, let's go again." And so I believe we're going May the 12th to the 24th.
Yes.
Yeah, and so you'll be our guide.
Yep.
And that's good. Well, then we'll probably have another one too, but you'll be the main guide. And I'm so looking forward to it. We actually have one of our supporters in the studio right now. I won't mention her name because she'll get a big head. But she's in the corner of the room here listening. She's in town, came in town to see Hani give his talk this morning. He spoke at a local parish and just shared, a beautiful presentation about the history of the Holy Land and connecting the Old Testament, the New Testament, and Nazareth and everywhere where he's from. And Elizabeth also went with us in June. I said her name. I won't say her last name. I won't get a big head. But she went with us to the Holy Land, and it's great to have her here too. She's going to go with us the next time. So for those of you out there, like, I've been once and that's it, I can't wait to go again, because it's like anything else. You get over there and we all, because of these stupid things, we're sitting there every second clicking things, and we forget to actually stand there and look in a lot of the places. So I'm excited to go back and revisit these things, and as our buddy Hector Molina would say, glean some more information from our wonderful guides and draw closer. That's the thing. I feel like with you really spoke to me those first couple of days. I was nervous. I've never led a pilgrimage before, and I'm not Scott Hahn or Jeff Cavins that can recite a piece of scripture in my sleep. So I was like, what do I have to contribute? And you said something to me that was really powerful. So you just walked by me one day and you said, you're a natural for this. You have a gift for this. And later on we talked and you explained that a little bit. You said, so many people can come over here and they can teach and they can have courses and classes and all that stuff, but we want to reach the heart. And so what I really enjoyed about it was, as well as the sights and all those things, the bus rides with each other laughing and playing Catholic trivia games and saying rosaries together and getting to know these people from New York and these people from North Carolina and just all those people, and then just trying to bring Jesus, make it real for people. Like, yeah, you're standing in this building, but what is Jesus saying here? One of my favorite places was, you came up to me. It was in the old city. It was at the healing pools there. I never say
St. Anne.
Yeah, St. Anne. Right out. Yeah. We had just had Mass. Father Larry did his homily, and you said you should talk outside. You should speak outside. And I was like, where? And you said, by the pools. And Father Larry was like, don't let him talk. He's already talked 3 times a day. We don't want to hear that. He was being him. But we went over there, and it's really, I guess, a great example of what we're talking about, because you can be there and looking down on those pools, you're way up and you can go down into them, but it's basically a bunch of grass covered old rock, right? So it's not like you're going, ooh, this is where this pool would have been, it's really kind of hard to see without a guide explaining things to you. It just looks like an old ruin with grass in it. But like what happened there is so powerful. Like it wasn't the waters that healed the man, it was his faith right there, because the angels would come and churn the water. And everybody thought, well, if I get down there, then I'll be healed. But when Jesus came there, he said, do you want to be healed? And in that spot, it's really one of those places where you can invite the pilgrims to say, like, look, this is 2,000 years ago, Jesus saying this to this man, but he's saying it to you today, now, 2,000 years later. Like, all of us have something that's broken in us. All of us have something that God wants that we're not giving him. We're all wounded. We've had bad things happen to us. And as we were sitting in that pool, I just felt called to be like, look, I think it's cool that Jesus didn't say, hey, Josaphat, or hey, whatever his name might have been, do you want to be healed? Because then we would have read that as like a personal message to that guy. Like Jesus just spoke to him. Mm-hmm. But just saying, do you want to be healed, is an invitation to all of us. Yeah. And to sit there, it's just a place where the gospel becomes life, right? It's not just written in a book and stones and stuff. It's like Jesus 2,000 years now is inviting each and every one of us every day in our own hearts, in our own interactions, in those moments like the pilgrim that came up and helped you with your leg. Like Jesus is always asking, do you want more of me in your life? Do you want healing? Do you want the life you've been looking for? Then just believe more, give me more of yourself. And that was really a place, like when I think about the Holy Land, that's one of the things that really hit me, was not to talk about myself and that was the Holy Spirit that gave me that, what to say there, but just that connection to what it really is. If you go with that right mindset and you have a wonderful guide like you that's trying to nudge you, like, yes, I could tell you that this rock is made of this and this, and it's been here 3,000 years, but let me tell you what happened around this rock. That's the power of it. And that's why I enjoy going with you. That's why I'm looking forward to going with everybody, and even Elizabeth next year when she comes with us. I'm just excited to return. So for people final thoughts here about the Holy Land. I want to give you this last few minutes to just talk about anything on your heart about the Holy Land, why people should go, anything you might haven't shared that you wanted to. I'm just going to give it to you and let you rip.
Yeah, so, people can read about these things. You can, about the stones. We talked about the stones, the ruins, archaeology, the places, with some grass on it. You can Google it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but will you have the experience of Googling those sites when you are standing there and listening to the scripture there? So it's completely different. You are not at your house. You are at the site itself. I love that place. There is underground, after the second station of the cross, there is what we call the Ecce Homo, the Sisters of Zion there. You go down, you go to the Lithostrotos, the Gabatha, and there you will see carvings of Roman games. They used to carve on the stone, and they were playing these games. One of them was called the King's Game. That is made to honor the god Mars, but it's actually what they were doing is a game that was played with the prisoners, as they will be taking the prisoner, making him the king of the day, and he is free to do what he wants, but at the end of that day he have to die. But then they will play the game. Like they will give him a little bit of freedom, and they will make him the king of the day. And by playing the game, they will strip him of the pieces of being a king. And the soldiers that would win that game would be the one who would kill or crucify that person. Mm. So this is really hit me, because that would be in the Antonia Fortress courtyard, and this is where Jesus would take the first cross. Like, would take the cross from there. He would be last probably. But then they were playing game. Like when they put the purple on him, when they were mocking him to be the king, probably they were playing the game. Like you just realize this when you are standing there and wow. looking at the carvings of the Roman games that were there during like Christ, because they have the legion symbol, the scorpion legion, mm-hmm. and it was stationed in Jerusalem during that time. So it's very high probability that it did happen there. You'll be stepping on those stones. Like if you don't know the connection, you can read it on the book, but you will not be stepping on them.
Yeah.
So it's overwhelming in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
To be there, to walk there, to hear the noises of the market. As simple as that. you're walking the Via Dolorosa. Well, the old Jerusalem was also a marketplace.
Mm-hmm.
So Jesus would be carrying the cross, walking, but all the noises that you hear around, they were there. Walking the hills, uphill. Jesus would have walked uphill. Today there are steps, which is more comfy, but back then there would be sometime dirt parts, sometime it would be Roman street. So all these experiences just build up, and I'll just say that it's impossible to come to the Holy Land and you go back the same person.
Yeah.
Like it's really impossible. And the Holy Land is very complicated. Like people can come by themselves, but without someone to guide them through, especially like the history and all the culture, the archaeology, it would be hard to navigate. Like even with a guide, you sometimes find it overwhelming because it's so much information in 8, 9, 10 days. So I also encourage people to come again, because the first time it would be a lot of knowledge, a lot of information, overwhelming. The second experience would be more contemplation.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like you come back to your home again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I feel like. I feel like I have another home. Like I can't wait to go back. I think about it all the time. There's not a single day that I don't wake up and I don't think about something in the Holy Land. Like, in even the rosary, I've never been the greatest rosary prayer in the world, and I'm sure people are going to get mad at me for saying that on here, but like, I never have been the greatest. I'm not going to lie. I've never been the greatest rosary prayer, but I pray a lot more often now than I did, because when I always had trouble focusing on the mysteries, because my mind's just ADD, just kind of everywhere, distracted. But now when I pray it, like the mysteries, I've been to those places. And so when I think about them, I can see what it looks like to be at the Visitation, right? I could see what it looked like, all of those places. And
what a walk up to the
the walk up, yeah. It's much easier on the way down, but yeah, I mean, it's just, you've been to these places, and I feel almost like Mary, where it says Mary kept these things in her heart, and that's the way I felt leaving the Holy Land, is like not only the sights and the places and being able to see where you prayed the rosary, but just the interactions with people, Father Iman, and people like that at Magdala, and just the people we ran into, the bus drivers, man. I just had a great time, Maddie. Yeah. He came up to me at the last dinner, and I didn't even think about this, but I had thanked Angela, I guess, first before anybody else, and he came up to me and he said, I've never seen somebody thank their wife first, and I was like, okay, I did something good then. Thank you. He and the other driver had the matching jackets on, I enjoyed being with them. But it was hard to leave, because it was like, man, we're leaving our family, like you and the bus drivers and Ibrahim, and but my heart was just sort of like, I'll be back. I'll be back, and I look forward to that. I hope we have many more trips over there, and so don't go anywhere, right?
It's a start.
Yeah, it's a start.
Yes.
The start of a journey, right?
Yeah.
So I'm hoping every couple of years we can come back and enjoy it together. So, man, Hani, it's been a privilege to have you here, and more importantly than that, it's just a privilege to call you a friend, man. I really mean that. I'm so glad the Lord keeps us connected through all the WhatsApps and all that stuff app, and just pray for you all the time, man. So please pray for me, and looking forward to going and showing you the rest of Memphis today, and hopefully it snows like it's supposed to, and then you'll get stuck here a couple days. So, but thank you for taking the time, folks. If you want to support the Christians of the Holy Land, the way you can do that is go to selecttogive.org. You can Google that. You can see everything they do there. There's all the documentation. You can follow your money, receipts, all those things. So it's 100% legit. They don't have to do that. They could take all the money, from the trips and stuff and just put it to profit. But Adita and all the team there, they really want to help people in the Holy Land. They've got a good heart. So you can help there with the Christians at selecttogive.org. If you do want to go with two awesome people, Father Larry and Hani, then you can go May the 12th through the 24th. We'll all be going together. Yeah. Father Larry will be the spiritual director, so that means he'll be giving all the masses. He uses his homily times to give his thoughts on the places we are. He will give some talks I think he spoke at the Primacy of Peter and also at Pater Nostra. So he gave some talks there. And then, I speak when the Lord moves me to. But if you want to go and have a great time, you want to go next year, pray with us. The Holy Land is back open, and that everything this war, for more reasons than just travel, is over for the people and their safety and their lives over there. But if you're interested in going, we'd love to have you go with us. You can go to the website, justaguyonthepew.com. At the bottom of the page, there is a place where you can put your email in and subscribe. You'll get all the notifications. So when the trip comes out, when we put it out there, you'll be notified and you can join us, because we certainly would love to have you with us. So, Hani, thank you for your time, man.
Thanks
I love you like a
here.
brother. Man, I'm just excited to spend the rest of the time.
My tall brother.
That's right.
Yes.
That's right. You got the looks. I got the height. There we go. But thanks, folks, for listening. Go and check out selectinternational.com for all their trips. And we hope to see you in the Holy Land next year. God bless.
God bless.